on the road to war. With the new unilateral U.S. sanctions announced Thursday, America and Iran may now be headed for unavoidable hostilities. The end result of all this may be war, whether anyone really wants it or not. On the U.S. side, the uptick in pressure appeared to begin at a news conference on October 17th, when the President said, seemingly off the cuff, "If you're interested in avoiding World War III, it seems like you ought to be interested in preventing them, the Iranians, from having the knowledge necessary to make a nuclear weapon," the President said. That was a very breathtaking statement. What the President seemed to be saying was that World War III would result. He would be seen as in his generation's Neville Chamberlain if he allowed the Iranians to go beyond the enrichment capability they've already achieved. BUSH has no intention of becoming identified with the appeaser of Munich. BUSH's jarring statement was followed by an October 21st speech by Vice President Dick Cheney. Cheney said, "We will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon." He said flatly, "The dynamic duo that brought us the war in Iraq, BUSH and Cheney, appear to be on the same page once again." In Tehran, meanwhile, the Iranian government now seems united around one idea. Iran will not give up one iota of its nuclear program now. In President Ahmadinejad's words, the resignation of the chief nuclear negotiator for Iran this week and his replacement by a close ally of Ahmadinejad's is one strong sign that this hardened position will continue. The hardline president likes to dominate inexperienced and unprofessional people like the new negotiator. Asked whether war has grown more likely, administration officials don't really say. The new U.S. sanctions represent a lurch toward unilateralism that some European officials now fear could be a repeat of 2002. In other words, the run-up to the invasion of Iraq. From Washington, the gambit of the Iran issue has changed from a tight focus on Tehran's nuclear enrichment program in tandem with the Europeans to a broader indictment of Iran on the world stage. Hence, Washington on Thursday named the IRGC, the umbrella organization that many Iranian officials belong to, a proliferator of ballistic missiles, along with the Ministry of Defense and Armed Forces Logistics Agency, and it designated the Quds Force, an elite branch of the IRGC, a group that provides material support to the Taliban, Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and another Palestinian group. The BUSH administration also designated two top Iranian banks, as nuclear and missile proliferators. And a third bank, a financier of terrorism. This effectively isolates all three of them as rogues that companies around the world should not do business with, that the latter hope to remain part of the international financial system and conduct their affairs in the United States. The U.S. administration is going ahead on its own. A senior official with one of the EU 3 countries, Britain, France, and Germany, said Thursday, they seem to be putting the question of Iraq in along with the nuclear issue, referring to Iranian influence inside Iraq. The Europeans are also resisting painting the Iranian government broadly with the same brush. We are not going to designate a whole movement like the IRGC as opposed to individuals, he said. So both sides, the United States and Iran, have staked out very extreme positions, and it is difficult to see how there can be a negotiated solution. Even if Tehran decides to suspend enrichment, for example, as unlikely as that it is, Washington will still suspect it of proliferation of missiles and support to terrorist groups in Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, and the Palestinian territories. Today, the administration is casting Iran as America's biggest boogeyman on every front. U.S. generals are now routinely trotted out to blame Iranian interference in arms shipments for the continuing Islamist insurgencies in Iraq and Afghanistan, though Iran plays at best a minor role there. The Russians and the Chinese are fearful of another armed conflict. For their part, the Iranians are now so certain that the U.S. goal is regime change once again that they believe any concession would be seen as a sign of fatal weakness. And as the stalemate goes on, the Iranians are getting closer and closer to gaining the knowledge necessary to make a nuclear weapon. As BUSH says, whether they decide to make a bomb with the knowledge is another question, though. That may be negotiable. Many Iranians hint that they would be satisfied with being technically ready to build a bomb without actually making one, as a sufficient strategic deterrent. But these nuances no longer seem important to the BUS administration. Let's think about this for a moment. World War III. What kind of deal is that? Period.